Suddenly, in the previous this thing, Sūta Gosvāmī is explaining to Śaunaka Ṛṣi. Then suddenly, this in the very next chapter, Maitreya and Vidura's conversation has come about. So basically, the entire Srimad Bhagavatam conversation, which we are reading, it starts with questions by sages in the Naimisharanya to Sūta Gosvāmī. Then Sūta Gosvāmī starts narrating Srimad Bhagavatam to Śaunaka Ṛṣis in Naimisharanya. So when he is describing Srimad Bhagavatam, he mentions that, this Srimad Bhagavatam I heard from Shukadeva Goswami when he was delivering Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. So Sūta Gosvāmī and Śaunaka Ṛṣi, then second conversations comes between Sūta Gosvāmī and Parikshit Maharaj. And when Sūta Gosvāmī is explaining Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit, he has referred to some of the conversations between Maitreya and Vidura. So there comes the third level of conversations. That's how we see suddenly somewhere between Maitreya and Vidura's conversation comes. Then somewhere in between Śaunaka and Sūta Gosvāmī conversation. Somewhere in between Parikshit and Sūta Gosvāmī. And when between Maitreya and Vidura's conversation, or otherwise also there are so many other conversations which have happened, either between Brahmā and Lord Vishnu, or Narada Muni, or between many devotees like Parikshit, Dhruva Maharaj, Prachetas. So many such dialogues in between it comes. That's why in the preface to Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada writes, the Srimad Bhagavatam may not be in a chronological order, but for us chronological order is not so important. For us the message, the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam is the most important. So as mentioned in this, as the title suggests, conversation between Maitreya and Vidura. So this conversation actually starts from, of course it's going on from the first canto itself, but predominantly it starts in the first chapter of this third canto. Today we are starting the new chapter, 20th one. So the very first chapter of this third canto starts with questions by Vidura. So Vidura, how he starts asking different questions to Maitreya Ṛṣi, and he poses different questions. So that's how from first chapter, this current chapter, 20th chapter, different questions and the answer to those questions has been described. So then how did Maitreya and Vidura conversation actually came about? It goes back to era of Mahabharata, when Vidura was in Hastinapur, and then Pandavas, they asked for their legitimate portion of their kingdom from Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra denies because he was guided by Duryodhana and Shakuni. Then finally, as a last attempt, Pandavas, especially Arjuna, request Krishna to go to Hastinapura with a peace proposal. So in the peace proposal, they requested for just few villages. I think only 5 villages they asked for. If they give those many villages, we'll be happy with that. So Krishna comes to Hastinapur with that peace proposal. Then when Krishna came here, he presents the peace proposal in front of Dhritarashtra. So to take the decision, Dhritarashtra wanted consultation of Vidura. So then he calls for Vidura. Then Vidura comes, and then Vidura says that the Pandavas should get their legitimate portion of their kingdom. What they are asking is actually not at all unfair. So we should immediately give that some portion of the kingdom to the Pandavas so that they also live with dignity. And then he says to Dhritarashtra that you are actually taking guidance from unworthy persons like Duryodhana, who is, he compares Duryodhana to offense personified. You are maintaining a person who is offense personified, and who is guided by all such another set of such offensive persons like Shakuni and different such his friends. And how can you take good decisions if you are accompanied or maintaining these kind of personalities? So better you should give up, and now it's the time to act, and you should give the portion of land to portion of kingdom to Pandavas. When Duryodhana hears this, he becomes furious. He becomes very, very angry. He was visibly upset. Then he says that, he addresses Vidura as Dasi Putra, Dasyam Sutam. The word used in Srimad Bhagavatam is Dasyam Sutam. Sutam means son. Who called this son of a maid servant? Who is asking you your valuable guidance here? You are a son of a maid servant. First of all, you are not worthy to give guidance because you are a son of a maid servant. And you are living at the cost of our maintenance and giving advice against us. You are favoring Pandavas, those who are our enemies, they are opposing side. So you are not fit to be in our kingdom. And he tells Duryodhana that he should be immediately thrown out. He should be bereft of all the things which he has except for his life. That means he should be taken away all. He was a minister. He had certain, possessions which a king had provided. All those should be taken away, and he should be driven out. Just barely leave him alive. So Vidura becomes very, very insulted by hearing this word Dasi Putra or Dasya Sutam. Then immediately he takes out his bow, keeps at the doorstep of Hastinapur, and he immediately leaves the kingdom without speaking anything. Then when when he leaves, what he does? He takes that opportunity as the mercy of the Lord, and he goes for different places of pilgrimage. He goes to Ayodhya, he goes to Dwarka, he goes to Mathura, different places one by one. Then at one point of time he reaches Prabhasa Kshetra, which is in Saurashtra, Gujarat. So when he reaches there, he gets to know that by then, when he is on a pilgrimage, Kurukshetra is over, all the Kauravas are killed, crores of people, crores of warriors, kings and their soldiers are being killed. So Vidura gets to know about death of all his near and dear ones, his close relatives, including Bhishma Pitamaha. Of course, Bhishma Pitamaha was not yet left the body, but he was almost dead. So then he becomes very, very morose. He filled with sorrow. But he continues his pilgrimage. And then finally comes to the banks of Yamuna, river Yamuna. There he meets Uddhava. So when he meets Uddhava, the moment he saw Uddhava, he was able to see that, Uddhava was not speaking. He was in a different kind of mentality at that point of time. So then Vidura becomes inquisitive by seeing with Uddhava on the Yamuna, that means somewhere near Vrindavan or Mathura. So then he inquires that Uddhava, you are the most fortunate among the other fortunates, because you, starting from the age of 5 years, you are so attached to Lord Krishna. And you had that great opportunity of living with Krishna and playing with Krishna. So in that way, you know a lot of things about Lord Krishna, or Lord's activities, his pastimes. Can you please describe? Then also Vidura starts inquiring to Uddhava about Lord Krishna, other Dwarkavasis, Yadavas, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Sambha. Like that it goes on, the list goes on with all the personalities. He inquires about them, their well-being, how they are doing, how did the war went. I heard that Kurukshetra is over now, the Lord has come back to Dwarka or not. So all these things he starts inquiring. Then when Uddhava opens his eyes and sees Vidura, and he says that, my dear Vidura, what you have heard is actually only one part of the pastimes. The Lord has wound up his earthly pastimes already, including all the Yadavas, all the Yaduvasis. So now I have come here as per the order of the Lord. So I am traveling to Badrikashram. Just I stayed, and by accidentally you happened to come here and we have met. So then Vidura becomes again even more sorrowful. He even thinks of leaving his own body, because what is the meaning of living when the Lord is not there in this world, when the Lord Krishna has already disappeared from this world? But before he moves further, he requests Uddhava that, I know that, so many sequence of events would have happened before the Lord departed. Can you please tell me what and all happened? Then Uddhava describes. Then Uddhava finally tells, when the Lord was about to, when the entire Yadu dynasty was finished. So the Lord comes onto the bank of Mother Saraswati. He was sitting peacefully. He had renounced all his worldly affairs as a king, as a husband, as a father. He has renounced everything. And Lord was ready to depart. Then he was sitting on the bank of Mother Saraswati. So there the Lord called me. So Lord instructed me, and Lord also told me that, this is very important that you hear this transcendental knowledge from me, because this knowledge has to be further disseminated. It has to be further explained to other personalities. So the Lord gave the transcendental knowledge. Fortunately, when the Lord was delivering the transcendental knowledge, another personality was also happened to be there. Who is that personality? Maitreya Muni. He was also on the pilgrimage, so he also comes there. And he also hears the Lord's teachings to Uddhava. So then Uddhava, by hearing this, Vidura becomes more inquisitive. What was the transcendental knowledge which the Lord gave it to you? If the Lord himself has told that this has to be further delivered, it has to be further explained to other devotees, that means it is very, very important. Can you please explain that to me? So till now, Vidura was actually whatever Vidura was asking, Uddhava was describing. But now he realizes that, now conversation will go long. Then he immediately says that, my dear Vidura, I request you to please go and approach Maitreya Muni to receive the knowledge which the Lord Shri Krishna gave to both of us. So he just mentioned this. He said, I am not able to speak further. Even I have to go to Badrik Ashram now. So you can please approach Maitreya Muni. So in that purport of Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada writes, it's a etiquette. It's a general etiquette that whenever a devotee is there, Uddhava clearly knows that, Vidura is also a pure devotee of the Lord. Vidura actually need not have to inquire so much about the Supreme Lord, because he already know. But the nature of pure devotees is that they never become satiated. They never become tired of hearing the pastimes of the Lord. They want to hear more and more. They want to hear more and more. They never become tired. But Uddhava was not ready, just because Vidura was of his father's age. He was contemporary of his father. He is such a senior devotee, then how can I instruct him? So keeping that etiquette in the mind, Uddhava guides Vidura to Maitreya Muni. So then Vidura stays there on the bank of Yamuna for some time. Then he goes to the banks of Mother Ganga, that is Haridwar. There he happens to meet Maitreya Muni. So there he starts inquiring from Maitreya Muni about what did he hear from the Supreme Lord. Different activities, different pastimes, different teachings which Supreme Lord has delivered to Uddhava and Maitreya Ṛṣi. So in that's where the subject matter of this entire third canto. Those questions by Vidura and answer by Maitreya Muni constitutes the majority portion of this third canto. The first chapter starts with the questions by Vidura. Then immediately when Vidura asks this question to Maitreya Muni goes into the ecstasy by remembering the Lord and his pastimes. So then he describes about different pastimes of the Lord. Then comes Vidura asks a question about the creation, the Srishti Leela of the Supreme Lord. So that's where very intricate details about creation of time, how universal time is calculated, how Brahmā is born, how other Brahmā, then further how he divides the planetary system into 14 planetary systems. All those things are described. So then, after the creation of the universal form and all other living entities are being described, then he asks about the Lord Varaha Deva's pastime, Mother Earth. That's where in the last couple of chapters we have been hearing about Lord Varaha and how he protected Mother Earth and how he killed Hiranyaksha. So now, after describing the Lord's Varaha pastimes, that concludes with the 2 verses of the last chapter, 19th chapter, where it is said that one who hears or chants or takes pleasure in wonderful narration of killing of Hiranyaksha demon by the Lord, who appeared as the firstborn in order to deliver the word, is at once relieved of the results of sinful activities, even the killing of a Brahmana. The pastime, any pastime in that way, the Lord's activities, the Lord's pastimes are so powerful that by attentively hearing that, one will be relieved of all the sinful activities. Here it is said, even the killing of a Brahmana. The gravest type of sin is Brahmahatya, killing of a Brahmana. So by hearing the pastimes of the Lord, even one can become free from that kind of an offense. When we water Tulsi Maharani and when we circumambulate Tulsi Maharani, we chant, Yani Khani Chapapani, Brahmahatyadi Khani Cha. So by circumambulating the Tulsi Maharani, one is freed from the offense of killing a Brahmana. Brahmahatya dosha, one can become free from Brahmahatya dosha also. So another way of becoming Brahmahatya dosha is to hear the pastimes of the Lord attentively, chanting those pastimes or taking pleasure in those wonderful narrations. So with that, the Lord Varaha's pastime, that chapter ends. So in this chapter, Śaunaka's first question is, okay, now the Lord protected Mother Earth, placed the Mother Earth in the orbit. Then after that, what did Svāyambhuva Manu do? Because as a Manu, he has certain responsibilities to deliver. What are those responsibilities? The living entities, those who are to come and take birth in this world, they are coming for what? Liberation. Even before the liberation, they are coming to enjoy this material world. The very reason why the living entities fall down from the spiritual world is they wanted to enjoy independent of Krishna. That's what Prabhupada here mentions. It is understood here that Manu creates scriptural regulations for the salvation of the conditioned souls who come to the material world for material enjoyment. The Lord is so kind that any soul who wants to enjoy in this material world is given full facility for enjoyment, and at the same time is shown the path of salvation. Material world, two things happens. One is the living entity is given an opportunity to try to enjoy, not actually enjoy. How can a living entity enjoy without Krishna? So this enjoyment, Srimad Bhagavatam is compares to Bhagavatam is given an analogy where you drown a person to the water, keep him for a few minutes there. He becomes breathless, he becomes completely restless. Then you just take him out for a few seconds. How he will react? He will try to take long breath. And then again you dip him into the water. So the time gap when he is taken out, when he starts breathing heavily, starts taking the air inside, that period is what is called as a pleasure in this material world. So we consider that as a pleasure. But is it really pleasure? No, it's actually a relief from one kind of suffering. It's not actually a pleasure, it's a relief from one kind of suffering. So that's what in this material world, every living entity comes and he wants to enjoy. And while he is enjoying, the Lord being so merciful, through his different agencies, through his different devotees, he also makes provision for the living entities to get salvation. That's what here. The Lord gives the full facility for enjoyment, and at the same time he is shown the path of salvation. So both the things actually happens in this material world. A chance for the enjoyment as well as an opportunity for salvation. So the Lord is so merciful, in spite of we vimukha chetasa, we turn our faces from the Supreme Lord. We have revolted against Supreme Lord and we want to enjoy independently. He says, okay, he gives that opportunity, he gives the permission, he sanctions that, but along with that sanction, he also takes necessary steps for the correction of that desire, corrupted desires. That's where either the Lord personally comes, or he sends his devotees, or makes an arrangement through his different agencies, like here it is said, the responsibility of Svāyambhuva Manu. What is this? What is that? He has to create facilities. That's what Śaunaka Ṛṣi is asking, that what did Svāyambhuva Manu do to show the path of liberation to persons who were to take birth later on. So जो भी जीव इस भौतिक जगत में जन्म लेने वाले हैं, उनकी लिबरेशन के लिए स्वयंभुव मनु ने क्या क्या किया. So that's his responsibility. That's why Prabhupada says, an ideal ruler means what? Ruler does not mean only provide facilities for the citizens to live happily. No, that's one of the responsibility. A bigger responsibility is how to make them Krishna consciousness, how to make them follow the path of Vedic principles. That is the responsibility of a ruler. So as a ruler, Svāyambhuva Manu, he has to perform these kind of things. So the Lord is so merciful, either in the form of Svāyambhuva Manu or in the form of any pure devotees, like the entire conversation between Maitreya and Vidura, or Vidura and Uddhava. These conversations, the very reason before leaving this world, the Lord calls Uddhava and gives him the transcendental knowledge, so that the living entities, those who are to come in future, they also can take benefit of the narrations of the Supreme Lord and get out of these clutches of this material world. That's why it is said that the pastimes, the narrations of the Lord is called as Krishna katha. But not only the pastimes of narrations of the Supreme Lord, even the pastimes and activities of his pure devotees is also called Krishna katha. Prabhupada writes, there is no difference between the narrations of the Lord or the activities of his pure devotees. Both are called as Krishna kathas. Why? Because pure devotees have no other interest than to spread the glories of the Lord. They never work for their own pleasure. They always work for the Supreme Lord and how to spread his glories. That is the reason even pure devotees' glories are also called as Krishna katha. And why pure devotees are so much glorified? What is the reason? In one of the verses in Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna explains, in the Bhagavad Gita, what are the symptoms of the devotees? How do they actually look? How do they behave? How do they act in this material world? So Krishna explains, Machitta Madgada Prana Bodhayantas Parasparam Katayantascha Mam Nitya Tushtanticha Ramanticha. The thoughts of my pure devotees always dwells in me. Machitta Madgada Prana. Machitta, their consciousness, the chitta is always dwells in me. They always think of me. And then their lives are surrendered to me. And they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. Katyantascha mam nitya tushtanticha ramanticha. Tushtanti means they are satisfied, and ramanti means they are always in bliss. They are always satisfied and they are in bliss by discussing about me. So this is the reason why Lord's, even pure devotees' activities are also called as Krishna katha. Because whatever they speak, wherever they go, they always talk about Krishna. Not only that, not just, they have to talk about Krishna only. Even their presence will invoke auspiciousness. Their very presence creates an atmosphere of Krishna consciousness. That's why in India, those who are very pious people, whenever they see sadhu, they come and touch the feet. They would request, please come to my house. And whenever a sadhu visits their house, they want to feed them, they want to take care of them, they want to give them some gifts. Why is that? Why not for anyone? It is because the devotees, by serving them, it is as good as serving the Supreme Lord. It is said that the Lord eats through two means. Whatever offering we give, that reaches the Lord through two means. One is through the fire, in the sacrifice, when we are offering ahuti, when we are offering yagna sishta, that is to the Supreme Lord. So the Lord eats through the fire, and second one through the mouth of Brahmanas or the Vaishnavas. So because even they need not have to talk about Krishna, but their presence itself will bring that auspiciousness. That presence, the entire atmosphere becomes Krishna conscious atmosphere. So that is the glories of the pure devotees. So wherever a devotee is like Maitreya or Uddhava or Vidura, Wherever they go, they always talk about Krishna. In many places it comes wherever Vidura asks some questions to Maitreya, then Maitreya answers to that particular topic. Then Vidura further puts one more question, that I am not satisfied I am not satiated by hearing these pastimes. Further explain this. Can you please elaborate on this? They are not satisfied. That is the symptom of transcendental ecstasy. A devotee becomes never satiated by hearing the pastimes of the Lord or even chanting the glories of the Lord. Rupa Goswami says that, how can I chant the holy name of the Lord by one tongue, and how can I hear by only 2 ears? If I had billions of tongues and trillions of ears, then I probably I would have enjoyed chanting and hearing of the glories of the Lord. That means the Lord's glories are so vast, infinite, then how can we can just try to catch using our 2 ears? So pure devotees are also like that. They are never satiated. They always, continuously, they will be chanting, hearing glories of the Supreme Lord. So that's where here, whether it is the pastime, whether it is Varahadeva's description, Varahadeva's appearance and killing of Hiranyaksha, or conversation between Maitreya and Vidura, they are all Krishna kathas. By attentively hearing that, we can become free from all kinds of sinful activities, even to an extent of killing a Brahmana or Brahmahatya dosha. We can even become free from that. So in one of the letter, a disciple is asking Srila Prabhupada about, here he was inquiring in general about different things. Then he also asks about how a devotee, how one person can become a pure devotee. So then Prabhupada answers, it's a very lengthy letter, so I'm just reading a selected portion, particularly connected to this, how a person can become a pure devotee. So Prabhupada, your final question is how you can become a pure devotee. And the answer to this is given in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna instructs Arjuna that Mahatma or pure devotee is he who always fully surrendered himself onto the spiritual nature. Mahatma anastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashritaha. Ashrita means one who is surrendered to daivi prakriti. That is Prabhupada here mentioning as spiritual nature. So Mahatma is he who has fully surrendered himself onto the spiritual nature. Then how can he tell if one is completely surrendered to the spiritual nature? Okay, when we surrender to spiritual nature, he is called as Mahatma or pure devotee. But how to identify he is surrendered to spiritual nature? That Prabhupada explains. He is fully engaged in devotional service to Krishna. Symptom of a devotee, one who is surrendered to spiritual nature, is that he is always fully engaged in the service to Krishna. This is the process of becoming a pure devotee. It's not a rocket science where how to become a pure devotee. In very simple words, using Bhagavad Gita quote, Prabhupada is answering that, you just take shelter of the spiritual nature. And how to take shelter of the nature? All fully and always engage in Krishna's service. Very simple formula. If someone actually 24 hours completely engaged in Krishna, that means there is no scope for Maya to enter into his consciousness. So that means the devotee is already situated in that consciousness, in that Daivi consciousness. Further, Prabhupada elaborates. So this is the process of becoming a pure devotee. We have to engage all of our, then Prabhupada said about surrender to the spiritual nature, then how to surrender? Engage in the devotional service. Then how to engage in the devotional service? That also Prabhupada is explaining here. We have to engage all of our words, thoughts and activities in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the spiritual master. Whatever we speak, whatever we do, whatever, wherever we go, we talk about only Krishna and engage in the activities of Krishna consciousness under the direction of spiritual master. That is most important. Therefore, at every moment, you should be busy in some way in serving Krishna and his pure devotees, and automatically you will become purified in Krishna consciousness. So just be engaged in serving Krishna and his pure devotees, and automatically one will become Krishna consciousness. Krishna is always willing to shower his mercy upon his devotees, So we have to simply to become receptive to this mercy by devotional service, and then the path is very easy. So Krishna is always willing to shower you with his mercy. That's why Krishna says, I'm not partial. I'm equal to everyone. Whether he's a devotee or non-devotee, for everyone my mercy is equally available. But what to do? Devotees will be able to absorb that mercy and non-devotees will not be able to absorb that mercy. Like Madhu Pandit Prabhu in that chanting, he gives an example. You have a bowl, you have a vessel where the Lord's mercy is falling and you have a vessel. If you hold it rightly, you can collect that mercy. If you hold it upside down, what will happen? It will all go to the mud. So Krishna's mercy is available, spiritual master mercy is available to everyone at every point of time. It is just that we have to become qualified to receive that mercy. Like in this Purport, Prabhupada writes about Krishna is so merciful that along with sanctioning the living entity's desires to enjoy without Krishna, independent of Krishna, he also creates an opportunity for the living entities to attain the path of liberation. So Krishna doesn't reject the devotees just like that. Just like that we have become away, we wanted to enjoy independent of him. Krishna doesn't just reject like that. He creates, he sanctions that independent desire, but parallelly he creates that facility for a person to become Krishna conscious. Then why only few countable number of people are able to become devotees? Because they are not ready to accept that. Just like they are holding the vessel upside down, उल्टा पकड़ लिया है. So जो पहले भी जो कृपा रिसीव किए थे वो भी नीचे गिर गया. दोबारा कलेक्ट करना तो भूल जाए, पहले जो कलेक्ट किया था वो भी बर्बाद हो गए. So simple formula to become pure devotees, always engaged in the service of Krishna and the spiritual master. Pure devotees under the guidance of the spiritual master. So Krishna, that's why he's so merciful. He's such a lovingly father that he is not leaving us in spite of we telling that, we don't want to live with you. Who can be a more merciful than Lord Krishna? He is coming, he is sending his different pure devotees, Parshadas, his own different mechanism, machineries. Entire material world so complicated. This third canto, starting from 5th chapter to 12th chapter, how the material world is being created, so technical. For us to understand itself is so difficult. Just imagine then how Krishna would have created that entire universal structure. And he has done this for what? Just to fulfill our desires, to enjoy independent of Krishna. So yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. So Krishna says, I come every millennium. I appear in every millennium. For what? To protect the dharma and to annihilate the miscreants and to protect my devotees. So in that Prabhupada mentions, annihilating the miscreants is not a big task for the Supreme Lord. Is it really a big thing? When he was few days old baby, not even months or not even years, even few days old baby, he was killing all big rakshasas, big demons, just like that. So for him, is it really difficult? Not at all difficult. But the Lord comes to this world repeatedly, millennium after millennium, just to give that blessing to his devotees, protect his devotees. Paritranaya sadhunam. So that is the merciful nature of Lord Shri Krishna. And Vedic literatures, like Bhakti Vinod Thakur in one of his prayers, in one of his song, he has written that, Madhavatiti Bhakti Janani. Madhavatiti means the special occasions where the Lord's appearance days or his pure devotees' appearance or disappearance days. So these days are meant for what? Bhakti Janani, to increase our bhakti, to increase our mood of devotion. So when Janmashtami preparations are going on, everyone is busy running here and there. Probably devotees or many of volunteers or others, they may be sleeping less. Sometimes we may find even difficult to complete our rounds. So but for what? To welcome the Supreme Lord, to celebrate his advent. So that's what make a devotee purified. There are so many people, those, every day they celebrate their birthdays. They make very elaborate arrangements. They spend crores of rupees for their celebrations, near and dear one celebrations. But can you just imagine who is that one person whose birthday is celebrated the most? Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna's birthday is celebrated the most, celebrated by most number of people across the world, not only India. So by doing this, that's why Vedic literature has given us this kind of festivals, and along with the festivals like fasting, some prescribed austerities like fasting or chanting some extra rounds, decorating the temple. So by doing this, we will purify ourselves. All our material existence will become purified, and we will go towards path of liberation. So one atheistic person, once he had, in one of the arguments, he put forward that, if the Father is very merciful, does he expect his son to fast? What kind of merciful father he is then? How can he expect his son or his family members to fast for him? So this is an atheistic mentality. But whereas how the devotees will take, devotees know that by fasting, we can become more and more strong in our bhakti. So that we can think of Krishna more, we can chant extra rounds, we can read extra. And of course, Krishna has not only told fasting, along with that we have also feasting. So he's extra merciful actually. So one way is to purify our material existence, another way is some kind of enjoyment also is Krishna parallelly has given. So this entire chapter now, the 20th chapter, which further it will be described about conversation between Maitreya and Vidura. So Vidura is going to ask some more questions to Maitreya Muni, and he is actually asking on behalf of all of us, so that we'll get to know about more and more about Krishna and his activities and his pastimes and his abode and his holy name and different aspects of the Supreme Lord. With this, I'll stop here. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.